नमस्ते भाइयों और उनके बहनों, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल. I hope you all are safe and happy. So let's start the today's discussion, which is about IRC 64 1990, which talks about the guidelines for capacity of roads in rural areas. So let's move ahead to the introduction part of this code. So in the introduction, they have talked about the importance of this capacity of roads. So what is the capacity analysis? Capacity analysis is the fundamental to the planning, design and the operation of roads and provides the basis for the determining the carriageway width to be provided at any point in a road network with respect to the volume and the composition of traffic. So what does this say? So it means, so they are saying that for determining the width of the road, we must know the capacity of that particular road, and it is a valuable tool for evaluation the investment needed. So here they have also said that whatever the investment is required for that particular road in the future, that also depends on the capacity analysis. So let's move to the next. So in point 1.2 and 1.3 they have talked about the previous publication of this particular code. So this particular code was IRC 64 1976, which was called as the tentative guidelines for the capacity of roads in rural area. So in this both the paragraph 1.2 and 1.3, so they have mentioned regarding that particular code, and in 1.4 they have talked about the committees that the committee and its member who have contributed for this, for the making of this IRC code 64 1990. So those who want to have the detail about this committee members, so you can see in the introduction 1.4 point. So let's move to the scope. So in scope, basically the IRC tells about the where this code is applicable and where it is not. So in the first 2.1 they have said that the guidelines contained in this publication are applicable to the long stretches of the rural highways. They also said that precisely the rural highways are considered with no control of access and with the heterogeneous mix of fast and slow moving vehicles. So they have said that this code is applicable to the long stretch of rural highways where there is no control of access and heterogeneous traffic is present. So this is the class of road where this code is applicable. In the next point they have said that the capacity value is recommended further on applying general to those sections which have neither restraint of narrow stretches nor any deficiencies of visibilities or other geometric features like curve. So what they have said that, so this code is applicable to the sections where there are no restraint of the narrow structures or the geometric features like curve, they are in the standard way. So whatever the standardization is there for the particular horizontal or vertical curve, so they should be properly designed for that particular stretch, and for such stretch only, for the such section of road only, this code is applicable. So one more point they have mentioned that this code is applicable only where nominal amount of animal drawn vehicle, that is up to 5% is present in the traffic stream at the peak hour, there only this code is applicable. So in the next point they have said that where it is not applicable. So where this code is not applicable, so it is not applicable for the design of intersection on the rural highways, as well as these guidelines are also not applicable for the urban roads and urban streets. And in 2.4 they have said that the capacity of access control roads such as expressways is outside the scope of this guideline. So what does this mean? So the access control roads are the roads, for example, if suppose there are expressways, so you might have observed that in expressways at the end of the road we have a fencing, so that there is control on the access of the transverse movement of animals or peoples or any kind of vehicles. So this is called as the expressway. That means when the vehicle travels along this path, so there is a restriction for the allowance of any kind of obstacle to the road. Such type of roads are called as the access control roads, and the main example for this is obviously expressways. So these expressways are excluded from the scope of this IRC code. So let's move to the next point, which talks about the definitions and the concepts. So the first they have mentioned the speed. Obviously every one of us knows what is speed. So it is the rate of motion of individual vehicles or traffic stream. So it is measured in meter per second as well as in kilometers per hour. So here they have mentioned the two types of speed. First one is the time mean speed and second one is the space mean speed. So what is the time mean speed? Time mean speed is the mean speed of vehicle observed at the point on road over a period of time, and it is also the mean of the spot speed. So what does this mean? If suppose there are the number of vehicles, so at this point, what is the average of the all the vehicles, average of the speed of all the vehicles crossing this point? So this average is termed to be as time mean speed. And what is the space mean speed? The space mean speed is the mean speed of the vehicles in a traffic stream at an instant of time over a certain length. So what does this mean? If suppose this is a road and we will consider this is our control volume, that means, so in this stretch we will calculate the average speed of all the vehicles for this particular stretch. So what is that, whatever will be the average speed of the all the vehicles over this certain space, that means whether it might be 1 kilometer or 100 meter. So this particular average speed is called as the space mean speed, and generally it is slightly less than the time mean speed. So to have a clear idea about this time mean speed and space mean speed, I will show with an example and how they are calculated. So let's have a quick look on a time mean speed and the space mean speed difference. So the time mean speed is, as we already studied, that it is seen at the particular specific point, okay, and at the particular specific point as well as in a given time. So let's suppose these are the three vehicles which are moving with the velocities x1, x2 and x3. So how we will calculate the time mean speed? So it is calculated as the average of speed of these three vehicles, since we are measuring at this particular point. And whereas in case of space mean speed, what we'll do, we'll consider our text section this much. So generally it is taken as the 1 kilometer if the speed is measured in kilometer per hour. So the space mean speed is given by the number of vehicles divided by the sum of the inverse of the vehicle speed, where x1, x2 and x3 are same, the velocity of this all three vehicles. So this was the difference between the time mean speed and space mean speed. In general, we can say that time mean speed is the arithmetic mean, whereas the space mean speed is the harmonic mean. And obviously, as we know, arithmetic mean is always greater than equals to the harmonic mean. So the time mean speed is slightly greater than the space mean speed. So let's talk about the next point. So in 3.5 they are talked about the volume. So what is the volume? It is the number of vehicles that pass through the given point on a road during a designated time interval. So the unit is vehicles per unit time. So the vehicles are determined per lane or per two lanes and per unit hour or day, whatever it may be. So here they have mentioned the ADT. ADT is the volume of average daily traffic, which is measured from the values of few days, and AADT is the annual average daily traffic when the measurements are taken from the 365 days of year. So both the ADT and the AADT are the average, but basically the ADT, the average daily traffic, is calculated by using the traffic volume of 7 days, and the AADT is calculated by using the traffic volume of the 365 days of a year. So let's move to the next. So in 3.6 they have talked about the density. So what is the density? It is the number of vehicles occupying a unit length of road at an instant of time. So basically the unit length is generally considered as the 1 kilometers, and it is also measured per lane or per two lane as per the demand. So when the vehicles are in jammed condition, then it is obviously the density is maximum and it is termed as the jamming density. So in 3.7 they have termed the capacity. What is capacity? It is defined as the maximum hourly volume or the vehicles per hour at which the vehicles can reasonably be expected to traverse a point or a uniform section of a lane or a roadway during a given time interval. So what is the capacity? So capacity is at a particular section, what is the maximum hourly volume that will pass through a certain section in a given time interval. It is called as the capacity of that particular section. And what is the design service volume? So you can see both the definitions are almost same. Maximum hourly volume at which the vehicle can reasonably be expected to traverse a point or a uniform section of a lane or roadway during a given time interval. But the additional condition for the design service volume is what? While maintaining a designated level of service. So here we have to maintain a particular level of service while designing the road, whereas in capacity there is no such condition. So obviously we can say that the design service volume is somewhat less than the capacity of that road, because we have to maintain certain level of service. What is level of service? So further in this code we'll talk about what is the level of service. For just now we can assume that the level of service is the ease in the traffic movement. How much is the traffic movement, the more is the level of service. Okay, so let's move to the next point, which talks about the peak hour factor. So generally this is the peak hour, it should be peak hour volume. Okay, so what is the peak hour volume? It is defined as the traffic volume during the peak hour expressed as the percentage of annual average daily traffic. So the peak hour volume is the traffic volume which we can expect at the peak hour. Okay, and so how we will calculate that? So it is taken as the 30th hourly volume. What is that? What does that mean? The volume of traffic which is exceeded only during 30 hours in a year. If we calculate the total number of hours within a year, so this peak hour volume is the volume that only the 30 hours in whole year the traffic is more than this peak hour volume. Now let's move to the next point, which talks about the speed flow relationship. So there are some diagrams as you can see present. So these diagrams are termed as the fundamental diagrams of the traffic flow. Basically these diagrams are called as the macroscopic fundamental diagrams of the traffic flow. They are called as macroscopic because the whole the traffic stream is considered for the analysis. That means not the single vehicle has been considered for the analysis, whole the group of vehicles, or you can say the traffic stream, has been considered for the analysis. Whereas in microscopic, a particular vehicle is considered for the analysis, and the movement or the maneuvering of that particular vehicle is represented in the microscopic traffic diagram. So let's move to the macroscopic. So this is the curve. So this curve has the volume, that is the capacity, on the y-axis, whereas the density on the x-axis. So this curve represent the speed versus density, and the last curve represent the speed versus volume. So I will explain all this one by one in the next video. Thank you.